I give you a little quick introduction of myself. I'm basically the CEO and founder of Buzzebees. We've been doing CRM, loyalty, and e-commerce business for over 9 years here in Thailand and the region. We have over 85 million users in our platform in Thailand and growing really rapidly. And ever since the COVID, and the world has changed quite rapidly because of COVID. And before that, it was much more steady pace. But because of COVID, the expedited demand for change on digital and online. So everything has moved up 5 years. So I guess one of the topics today we talked about is how the change of the world will next be for the next five to 10 years. And I hopefully give you some insight on that. So I want to start by saying that, the world is changing and we really need to look at what our world's going to look like next decade. And I wanted to show you a number 4 because I'm going to talk about four topics today that will, in my point of view, will change a lot in the next 4 to 10 years. And these 4 items, I think, will help people set a mindset on what's going to happen. And then we'll go from there. Of course, a lot of people have been talking about blockchain. I think this is one of the highly anticipated topics. Most people know blockchain as Bitcoin. But reality, blockchain is just a fundamental concept behind Bitcoin. But reality is that a blockchain will open a whole new world of how we do business. Most importantly, it will help democratize how transactions are transacted in a real-time system. And what that means is that whatever happens is everything is real-time based and everything will be seamless and will be fraud-proof and you won't have so many middlemen along the way. And I talked about transparency, which is when it's on a blockchain, everything is absolutely transparent. You know exactly from one point to another, and you know exactly who's making a cut along the way. So what that means is that using a blockchain, everything becomes crystal clear on what's happening in terms of what people are doing and how much they're making along the way. And by doing that, you're going to open a new world of financial business opportunities. What I mean is not about money making. What I mean by new financial opportunities is the way that financial business is done today. I'll give you a very good example. I have a new project myself. It's about wealth generation and wealth building. And the way the world today is doing wealth management is very different than what it will be in 5 to 10 years from now. Because of blockchain, the way we have technology today, we will be able to open a new world of how that's going to happen and how we can have mass inclusions of consumers, which previously we never had access to tools and financial opportunities as the super wealthy have. And with this kind of technology with blockchain will help open that up and new opportunities will be created because of that. And because the blockchain, one thing it does is because it's so transparent, what will happen over time is that everything will be zero transactional cost or near zero, okay? So if you look at the example today, the best example is you look at MasterCard Visa. And MasterCard Visa right now, they charge you like 0.1 basis point, so 0.1% for a transaction. Compared to, let's say, Apple, which charges 30% for your use of their system. So what happens over time with blockchains is that once things become transparent, democratized, and there's nobody owning it, then the transaction costs will be driven down very rapidly. And that driving down the transaction costs will happen because of supply and demand. And that's going to make a lot more businesses scalable and cost effective, which before it wouldn't be possible. I just want to give you an example of how blockchain would work. This is what you see today. Okay, this is how the internet works today. You have Amazon, you make an order, you place an order, and then it goes to the bank, deducts their credit card, and then the orders, once the credit card deduction is complete, Amazon will then tell the merchant, the shop, to ship the product to you. The logistic company will pick up the product and deliver it to your house. And you can see along this example of the internet world, there's a cut that's being made along the way on every single step, everything from the banks to the logistics to Amazon and everything along the way, they have a cut. So what happens in the blockchain world is a little bit different, is that everything will happen more simultaneously and everything will be much more transparent. So all of a sudden the bank can't charge a huge fee anymore. And all of a sudden the logistic driver can't be charging a huge fee and making a huge margin, nor can Amazon, because everything will be transparent for them to see. how much margin is made by one party by another. And that's what the blockchain world was going to do. It's going to make everybody a lot more transparent in terms of their business opportunity, in terms of margins they make. And by doing that over time, it will drive down the cost to the end consumer and open a new world of business. So that's the first topic. The second topic I want to talk about here is there's a word called graphing. I don't know if people know about it. Okay, and this is an example I'm going to give you. And graphing is basically one carbon atom thick. Okay, graphing is a new material. This material is absolutely amazing. It's the strongest material on Earth, stronger than diamond. It is conductive, the most conductive material on Earth. It is the stiffest material on Earth. It is also transparent. It's the lightest material on Earth and resistant to electricity as well as conductive at the same time. It is also elastic and impermeable. So what does that mean? You think, well, graphing, what does that relate to our day-to-day life, and how is it going to make my life so different in the next, say, 5-10 years? Well, because it's flexible, self-powering, and always connected to the internet, and self-intelligent, what that does is that it creates a new technology, which everybody probably heard of today. And if you think about it, that basically is Internet of Things, okay? So IoT is the concept of how everything in this world is connected to the internet somehow, whether that means your shirt you're wearing, all the way to your shoes, what food you're ordering, your cars, your phones, your watches. And basically with this kind of technology, everything will be IoT connected. So what that means is that once everything is connected to the internet, we can track you, we can monitor you, we understand what's going on in terms of how things work. So you think about it, sounds quite scary, but the reality is that that's how this world works. In the future, everything will be monitored, right? The third topic here is about this person. Most of us would never know who this person is. His name is Ninja. He's a e-sport game star. And the future really is e-sport. This guy is so popular, he managed to work with Adidas and have the shoes sold out purely online in 25 minutes. And the size of the e-sport marketing in the future is so huge. You know, they have in 2019, you have over 200 million e-sport watchers. That's more than all the sporting events combined together in the world. And a majority of it is in Asia. The financial opportunities in terms of money that the companies invest in it is over $1 billion already, and is growing at 30+% year on year. And if you look at the prize money of these gamers now, you're talking about gamers that are making $14.7 million per winner. That's more than what tennis players make in the Grand Slam tournaments. All right, so the future of esports is huge, and that's where the big difference is going to be. I want to talk about is the movie. I see this picture. But in reality, it's quite serious, because what it talks about is AI and machine learning, and how using AI and machine learning will really change the way we do everything in our lives. It'll help smarter decisions, more accurate decisions, and better than what humans can do, and then lead to new technology and advances in the future. And how it's really going to disrupt the job market. There's going to be a lot of redundant jobs in the future, like self-driving cars. Once AI and machine learning becomes fully on board in the cars, you don't need a driver anymore. So when you bring these four things together, is you have the ability to transact safely and cost-free. You have the ability to have the largest audience in the world watching you at the same time with two-way communication through like eSport, for example. And everything online you're wearing is connected to the big data engine somehow. And everything is self-aware learning, and everything just happens. So when you bring these four together, it's quite amazing how the next 5 and 10 years of our lives is going to change, and that speed at which it will change at. And that's where this world is going to move to. And if we miss the boat on this, our business is going to really struggle. So I just want to bring it back down to reality to close off my session here. And there's 3 topics we wanted to talk about. One is aggregator business, online to offline, and direct to consumer, D2C. So this is the things that you should be focused on today, and how this is aggressively growing. And through COVID, it's actually been very clear that this business is actually a very important part of your business moving forward. So the aggregator business is people like Grab, Line Man, Lazada, Shopee, Line. And what they're doing is they're doing a business that didn't exist 10 years ago. So we talked about what the world's going to be like 10 years. You think about these business, 10 years ago, these people didn't even exist, right? They have scale, they're well financed, right? Their profitability of their business model is not needed. So it becomes very hard to fight businesses like this when profitability is not a concern to them. So my thought to this is that if you can't beat them, you join them. All right? You have to learn how to leverage these platforms as aggregator business and how we learn from them. So you really need to understand and collect the data from them and be able to understand how those data is to be used in the future. And you need to build your own user database. You can't rely on their database. And better targeting through increased value proposition by increasing the maximum lifetime value of your customers through these platforms. All right. So what that means is you want to focus on omni sales channels, but single customer view. Okay. You want to create one customer view of your customers. Doesn't matter what channel they purchase your product from. Okay. Offline to online or online to offline. So with the majority of business still offline, we need to worry about the channel conflicts and impact to our business. The problem is how can we leverage online to help build our offline channels, right? So obvious choice is what we do, which is what Buzzebees does. We use CRM loyalty as a component to help build that loyalty through online and offline business. And we leverage the aggregator channels, which I just talked about. And offline reach with existing supply chains and using digital to help build your B2C. These are the techniques that we use to help build online to offline. And the last one here is the direct to consumer business. This is something that's very interesting, and I'll wrap it up with this a bit for you. And I'm not sure you heard of it. It's called diffusion of innovation. What that means is that there's a point at which your business model have a tipping point. And your tipping point doesn't need to be your entire customer base. From this picture, you can see the law of diffusion states that if you go beyond 34% of your customer base, you actually can get the rest of them to buy into your concept later, okay? And if you look at all my customers who use Buzzebees, we're all in the innovator category, so around 2.5%. And then none of my customers who are not in this picture, basically they are not interested, so that's why they haven't contacted us. And some of my customers on the early adopter stage, but nobody in Thailand is beyond that tipping point. And that's the most important part. If you don't get beyond that tipping point, it's very hard to have growth and to make online or offline with digital successful. And that's the key point here, is that you must get beyond that tipping point. An example of this is Kylie Jenner. She built an entire cosmetic empire from purely digital, okay? And then they can create a mass brand from nothing by building a huge following on Instagram and content, and they can build an entire business out of it from purely just digital, okay? And that builds better understanding of customers, who your customer really are, and provides better marketing campaigns and precision to customer segmentation of who your customers buy which products from you. So to wrap everything up in my session, I want to talk about the speed of change, and it is so great. And the problem is that if we are unaware of these changes and what's going to happen in the next 10 years, and we will cease to exist. In the world, the way it works today is that if you ain't moving forward, you're moving backwards. And here's my few recommendations for you. First of all, we need to get over the fear of failure. Everybody fear failure. The reality is that if you don't want to innovate, then you won't fail anything. Problems when you innovate, there's always failure. So the part that you have to understand is that failure is actually a good thing, and we got to figure out how to leverage our learning from failure. Do not try to do everything yourself. Find partners, find platforms, find people to help you to achieve your end goal, and focus on your own end goal. And start learning and focus on execution of your goal, okay? And stop looking for ROI for digital in the short term, because reality, if your majority of your business is already running on a traditional model, finding ROI comparatively is going to be relatively difficult. And do not focus on cost optimization. And as I showed you before, tackle the early adopters and have the grit to follow through your execution. And these are the critical components that make sure that we can grow our business in the future. So the outcome of this is not meaningless, even if we don't succeed. The outcome is very simple. It will bring a learning organization, an adaptive organization to your company. You will have ideas and understanding of your customers better. And you will have a platform and learning to excel when you reach your tipping point. And by combining these together and understanding the direction of where the world's going to be in the next 5, 10 years, that will help us achieve where our business is growing in the digital world. Okay. So I think that's all I have for today. So thank you very much for everyone listening. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us anytime. And if there's anything we can help you with, then let us know. Dave, I hand it back over to you.
Michael, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
On your last chart, you talked about ROI.
Yes.
Can you just expand on that? Because obviously, you and I both know people in the marketing industry seem to be obsessed with ROI on everything these days.
Yes.
And I was fascinated when you just said stop looking for it. So maybe you could just expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so ROI, of course, I mean, what I say here is that, you know, because most of the people listening and most of business already exists today, right? So if you're trying to compare your traditional business and looking at how much I invest in digital and what the volume of sales going to be relative to my investment, right? Or relative to how much I invest into this concept, it's never going to scale out at the same rate compared to your traditional model, because you already have an existing model that runs. So when we say don't look at the ROI, what we mean by is don't look at our return on investment in the short term, because until you have scale on your digital, the ROI doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So that's what I mean by return on investment. So to that, you have to, as I said before, you have to get to a tipping point. If you don't get to that tipping point, nothing else matters, because of what you show, it won't have any value at all. And that's the important part.
No, it's good, Michael. It's good. I asked because you have, especially in your business, but you know, I and many of us have been through lots of experiences this year where we're working with lots of companies who, because of COVID and the environment this year, have changed tactics, have tried new things, have gone online in different ways, using different types of digital platforms. For example, some clients I know have experimented with partnering into esports for the first time. And then literally 1 week after they launch something are going, yeah, but I'm not getting the return on investment I expected. It's like, how could you tell what the return was going to be in a week if you've never done this before? You know, it's an interesting sort of idea to me that people need to take some time to figure this out and to learn from experience. That was great.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a mentality thing, right? So the reality is that you have to believe that your business in digital world in the future is your most important directive as a CEO. And if you do believe that, then any investment you take into that is just taking you one step closer to that, even if it doesn't generate the return you want. That's why I say the number one comment I have, and I see this every single day with my clients, is everybody's fear of making a mistake and screwing things up. And that's happened. I can tell you, my business, I make mistakes, hundreds of mistakes a day. You know, and if we don't learn from that, I mean, if you listen to like Jeff Bezos, he says, look, you only hear about my one success. You didn't hear about my 10,000 failures. I had to get to that one success, you know, and there's no genius in the world that even someone like Jeff, you know, can't make it happen. Or, you know, but it's not like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me how many people, first of all, well, I'm trying to do it the way Jeff Bezos do it. Well, wait a minute. He's literally 1 in 7 billion people. Right. So the fact that he's managed to do it is not easy to copy. Right. But the other thing is you can learn from the thing that, hey, you know, all these guys have made big mistakes. We all make mistakes. And so learn from it. That was really good. I really enjoyed that, Michael. I love those first 4 things. The gaming thing is really interesting to me because I've only literally recently discovered what that's about and the effect that's going to have on IoT and other things. So really good starters, really good recommendations on what to think about. Thanks very much for getting us started on some really big thinking. It was really great. Thanks.
My pleasure.